Any other question from anyone?
No, sir.
Yeah.
Actually, one participant, Sonali, asking about how to balance.
Yeah, Sonali, I'll talk about it. How to balance it. Okay. Okay, Aditya. Now you can mute your this. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, Sonali, do you have any question? Sonali Vashisht. Okay. So let's start, and I'll talk about balancing the answer. Okay. For example, I gave some comments in the first question to balance it. Right. So let's start with the. Yeah, Anji. Sorry, I thought someone was asking something. Okay. So we'll talk about the first question, and here I gave some people comment about balancing the answer. So discuss why there was a need to scrap planning commission. Also explain the challenges faced by NITI Aayog. So here we will discuss the broad line of answers. Okay. If anyone has some good points, then they can discuss. Or I have also shared, all everyone's answer there, so you can look into it. Okay. So while I was talking about balancing your answer, right? Balancing your answer here in this context meant that you need to give equal weightage to both the part. Okay. As we talked earlier in the previous sessions, then that 1 mark for your introduction, for example, 1 for your conclusion, and then you have 2 parts, right? So divide equally, 4 plus 4. So what happened was a few students, I guess Sonali also did this, that why there was a need to scrap planning commission, they wrote like 6 points here. And while talking about explain the challenges faced by NITI Aayog, they wrote 2 points. Okay, so it gets a bit difficult for me to mark, or for any evaluator to mark good introduction, good conclusion. 0.5 marks, 0.5 marks. Okay, you get 1 mark. Then for example, you are getting like a good first part. Okay, 2.5 marks. But not a good second part, 1 mark. You get what? 4.5. And while we are looking for 5.5. Right? Even so, you need to balance this. You wrote 6 points here, you could have written 4 points, because I won't give more than 2.5 out of 4 even in the examination also. Generally you don't get that much marks. If you have written 4 points also, then also I would give you 4.5. Here you wrote 2 points, I would give you 1 marks. If you have written 4 here, I would have given you 2 marks here, and you would have got 5.5. Right? So 1 mark, you missed 1 mark just because you wrote 2 points extra here and 2 points less here. So that is what I want you to balance. And one more thing, from now I'm suggesting you this exercise. What you need to do is you need to give yourself your marks. Now that I have evaluated 6 answers, right? 7th also, 6th almost done. 1 or 2 papers left, I'll upload, and 7th also I'll upload by today day end. So now what you people need to do is you will score yourself also. Okay, so at the top you will write your own score. Okay, what you think you deserve, and you know the scoring pattern. If you have written an introduction and you think it is fine, 0.5 marks, 0.5 for your conclusion, and 4.5 for your body part. So that is what, if you can think that you deserve, you have written very good, then if you deserve 5.5, then write 5.5. And don't think that you don't deserve 5.5. Okay, so now I just want to check you people that what you think your answer is. Okay, and that is also a good exercise, because if you don't think that it is a 5.5 marker, right, so I may not think the same. So this is one exercise. Please try this. It will help you improve. It is just improvement exercise. But don't shy away. If you think your answer is not good, give it 4 out of 10, 4.5 out of 10. If you think you are not able to introduce properly, if you are not think that you are not able to conclude properly, so deduct 0.5 marks yourself. If you think you are balanced the answer both the parts, then give 4.5 there, 0.5 in the introduction, 0.5 in this, and 5.5 marks. Okay, so this will help you, that if you cannot give yourself 5.5 marks, then how can a evaluator give you? Okay, in that way you need to look into all this. So first question was regarding why there was a need to scrap the planning commission. Fairly a direct question, and also explain the challenges faced by NITI Aayog. So you could have introduced with planning commission, or you could have introduced it with NITI Aayog. Like recently in 2015, the planning commission was scrapped and with a new body, replaced with a new body named NITI Aayog. Like that, you don't need to go for dates. Reason being, you may not remember this much of dates in the final examination. So don't write the dates, right? Someone wrote some August date or whatever it was, I don't remember. And you don't need to remember for sure. Okay. So just give a brief introduction, like for planning commission, if you're introducing, then in the 1950s, even you don't need to write 1952 also, right? In 1950s, soon after the independence, there was a need to have a planned economy. And based on the Soviet planning system, India adopted planning commission as a body to plan for whole of the country. Then while we are scrapping, then you knew the reasons, right? Because one was the regional divide was still there. Then the changing environment, changing level of development, and inequality. Because planning commission was top-down approach. Obviously, it started with trickle-down approach, and it was very helpful at that time. But now trickle-down was not working anymore, right? Because top-down approach means when someone is writing for everyone, right? That is what we call one size fit all, right? So planning commission was one size fit all. They are planning something for whole of the country and implementing. No, that is not good. So these were few reasons why it got scrapped. And that's why NITI Aayog, then you write a single transition line where you discuss about NITI Aayog. It is a multi-membered body, and basically its work is to not to implement but to provide guidance, right? To provide recommendations. Then what are the challenges? Again, there is a challenge related to center-state relation, because states sometimes say that they are not adequately represented. Then the desired effect of the NITI Aayog is not been seen yet, right? Whatever they wanted. Then again, the NITI Aayog sometimes is said to be a new, new packaging for the old wine. Okay, old wine in a new bottle. That is what it has been said sometime. Also, the GST Council for that matter has been said. So you can write about this, and then while concluding, you can give some way forward that okay. Also, the NITI Aayog has some flaws, but it has been working better. And to make it more comprehensive, the stakes of the states may be enhanced, and it must be given some financial powers. Because the main one issue with NITI Aayog is it is only recommendatory in nature, and they don't have any financial power. Okay, so by this you can conclude. So I'm talking about 2 sentences in introduction, 4 sentences in this, 4 sentences here, and 2 in conclusion. If we look into it, 12 sentences or 12 points. And one point, even if you take 15 words for one point, if you are cutting it down, so 180 words. That is the maximum limit. And writing 12 sentences in 6 minutes is possible. 1 minute for your thinking and 6 minutes for your writing. Right now, I know I have given you this, leverage that you can go write it around in 15 minutes. Okay, it was the first week, and after first month we will bring it down to 13 minutes. After second month we will bring it down to 11 minutes. Gradually we will bring it down, and you will be definitely by the end you will be able to write an answer in 7 minutes. Okay, right now you are a lot confused what to write, what not to write. So slowly we will improve this. Okay. So next we are talking about the second question that we have also discussed in brief. What is the difference between growth and development? Why development is more important for a country like India? Okay, so to introduce, you can start with the definitions of both growth and development. So you can write that growth is basically a quantitative term where we are talking about economic growth only, while development is more inclusive. That's it. This much, 2 sentences, more than sufficient. And then difference. One thing I would suggest that whenever there is a difference between 2 things, okay, and there are 2 parts of the question. If there is a single part question and you have to just differentiate between 2 things, then you can try to differentiate in paragraph, where you generate a debate, writing that okay, growth is a quantitative term, while development is a quantitative term. Growth is less inclusive, development is more inclusive with multidimensional approach. These type of questions answer. But while there are two parts of the question, then try to write in a tabular form because it will save you a lot of time. And while writing in tabular form, you get like growth, development, unidimensional, multidimensional, less inclusive, more inclusive, right? These type of things you need to write in tabular form, so it will save the time. While it will be saving the time, you will also reduce the word limit also. It will also help you to maintain the word limit. And it will help the examiner to evaluate easily, right? And then why development over growth for India? So obvious, because inequality again. Inequality index, if we talk about inclusive development index, then India's ranking was somewhere around 62 out of 78 countries in 2018-19. Inclusive. So inclusive development is not there, right? So we need to improve this, and due to inequality, then we can talk about digital divide, right? Even we are growing at sometimes at a rate of 7 to 8% generally, okay? Even at this growth rate, it is not trickling down, right? So when the poorest are not getting the benefit, then we need to look into the development, right? For example, if we talk about infrastructure development also, so major roads are being created in the cities only, right? Highways are creating connecting two cities. Still, rural roads are not that, you know, metal road, or sometimes the rural road are not even, you know, motorable roads. Even in the you know, states of northern India, the states of northern India, which are comparatively developed, northern and southern India, if we leave the eastern part, these are less developed. But even in the developed states also, the roads are not motorable. So when the development is there, so it will percolate, right? We can also talk about health infrastructure development, right? So these are few things that you need to talk. This is why we need development over growth. You can talk about employment also when we are talking about development, because growth, Indian growth is sometimes called as jobless growth, right? This is also a very good question. I'll just give it to you. You can write yourself and send that India is said to have a jobless growth, right? That means the economy is growing, but the jobs are not there. So do you think it is a justified statement? And give some solution for the same. So if you are writing in this form also, so this is also one good question. Then while concluding, so this is again why development over growth we have written, and while concluding, you can use the report as I have suggested, Inclusive Development Index report, 62nd rank, and also you can suggest that we need to focus on development and what can be done. You can give 1 or 2 suggestions. Sometimes what students does is they will be writing 4 to 5 suggestions in conclusion. Until and unless asked specifically some suggestions, go for 1 or 2 only, because conclusion will become very big else, and you will cross the word limit. So this is one of the way, 2 sentences for conclusion, and that will help you limit your words and limit your time. Okay. Similarly, when going to the next question, third, what do you understand by debt trap diplomacy? Give reason why countries are vulnerable to debt. So in this question, I found that most of the students talked only about China, okay, and written multiple times China. No, if not most, a few students. So don't. It's fine that you write, but write once or twice China and don't write the name multiple times. It's fine. So, because it is not the only country, right? We will be talking about that trap. A lot of countries would be looking into, even the Brexit. You know, that gets somehow with the debt trap. So you need to define what debt trap is, and you can give the example of Sri Lanka. Yeah, here you can mention China and Sri Lanka. Okay. And while talking about why countries get into debt trap, so don't mention multiple times China. It's fine. Everybody knows that, right? Everyone is in everyone in India at least, except that yeah, China is going for making the countries falling into the debt. So what you need to look is why are the reasons. So for Sri Lanka example, Hambantota Port, you can give the example. Then why? Because one is the failure of multilateral institutions, because the conditions are a bit tough. Then failure of developed countries to take care of their responsibility, because what developed countries has this historical responsibility, because one is colonialism and second is the environmental factors, right? So you need to look into this, that the responsibility of developed countries failed. Then third is, a major reason is the domestic political needs, right? What do we need by domestic political needs? For example, Sri Lanka, it is underdeveloped, for example, right? Few spaces, or any other country. For example, we take about Nigeria or country, so they are underdeveloped. So what happens is they cannot talk about development during the whole, election rallies or anything. So what they can do is they can just look into this. They can look into some debt from some countries, and then they can win the election. So these are few things that is being done, right? Because when there is a development in countries, so they get votes. At what cost the development is coming, that is at the okay. And then you can conclude with some measures that can be taken at international level, right? International level, for example, multilateral institution, and we can talk about common but differential responsibility. This comes not only on environmental level, right? This comes not only for environment but also for all these things, even development. Developing countries or least developed countries are least developed because other countries, developed countries, got the advantage, right? So they have their responsibility here also. So multilateral institution, developed countries, these type of things we need to talk about in your conclusion part, right? Now coming to the question number 4, write a short note on judicious use of resources in India. So this was the question. If you look into the answers of the students, so it was written in multiple types. Okay. So for the introduction, we can use with few. We can also write few resources, or we can write about resources use, or we can talk about abuse of resources. For example, water resources being abused for agriculture, everyone would agree to that. So you can talk about water abuse like this in the introduction. Then various resources. Then again, as I talked in the starting, some of the students were not there. So while we talk about judicious use, so we are not only looking into the energy or mineral resources. Okay, we are looking into the other resources also: water, human resource, environment, right? Environment in itself is a resource. So pollution, right? We need to talk about pollution also. Pollution is because we are not using the resources. So question is about judicious use, right? So when we are talking about environment, for example, water pollution or even air pollution or noise pollution or soil pollution or anything, these are all due to non-judicious use of resources, right? Air is a very important resource, right? So you need to look multidimensional. So students wrote about energy resources also, but basically mainly they were tracked towards mineral only. We'll write one sentence for mineral with example, then one for human resources, and then one for again environmental, then one for water, etc. So you can go multidimensional. Always try to look multidimensional while writing the answer. And then further you can conclude with some suggestions, right? You can give some suggestion how it can be done, and then you can conclude that natural resources we need to connect with some SDG. You can write some sustainable development goals also, or you can talk about the future generations also. Right? For sustainable use, that in itself means that you need to talk about the future generation. And if we don't use the resources judiciously today, even we can talk about like some reports that says that even Delhi may be out of underground water, sorry, within next 5 years. So this is a big report, you can use it. So this is the high time that we need to open our eyes, right, and look into the judicious use of the resources, because these resources are not non-renewable, and once exhausted, we can go back to the Iron Age or even the Stone Age from so much developed states. So in this way, you can conclude, right? Coming to the question number 5, fairly direct question. Explain the causes of unemployment in India and suggest some measures to solve issue. So I would like to talk about one thing is that while writing the answer slowly, not right now, slowly what you need to do is you need to start prioritizing your points. Okay, while writing, like for example, the solution. So don't start with MG narrator. Okay, it is a good solution. Even World Bank acknowledges it. But this is not a topmost solution. Okay, what we need to look is skill development, right? And one more thing I would like to talk here is most of the students wrote the reason as population. Definitely it is a reason. Okay, population is a reason, but you know, controlling population will not help in employment generation. Okay, that is for sure. So what we can do is the existing population, we can skill them. Right now, everybody must know that India is one of the youngest country. That means average age of India is somewhere around 29 to 30 years, somewhere around, right? So that means it is youth are too much, the population, youth population is, so that is demographic dividend. So population, as I talked about, is human resource. Population is in itself is a resource, but what happens is our resources are not up to the mark, not trained. Various reports are suggesting that Indian, you know, education system is so faulty that even the graduates from the topmost institutes are unemployable because the skill sets are not up to the mark. So the issue is not population, issue is the proper management of population as a good resource. Because of lack of skills, it has become a burden, right? But if the population is very well skilled, it will be a very good demographic dividend. So population in itself is not bad, right? So population in itself is a resource, and so skill development. So these should be the major points of your answer. And while defining unemployment, because everyone defined it pretty well, it's fine. Then reasons for unemployment were good, except the population one. Whenever you are writing population, write it, but don't write it as a first point. That's what I was talking about. You're prioritizing your points. Okay, so you need to give your point some priority. At which point? So one point is the skill gap is the major reason, because you know almost now the education system, like enrollment rate has improved. A lot of people graduate. Even graduates are not getting jobs. A lot of engineers are not getting jobs. Right? I'm not particularly targeting one field, but this is the truth that a lot of engineers are there, right? And they're not properly getting the job. It is because there is a skill gap, right? Whatever is needed in the industry and whatever we are giving to the industry is not there. So industries, what they have to do, they have to train. So a lot of people would be complaining that in internship they are made to do a lot of work and not paid well. But industry cannot even train you and pay you good, right? Because they have obviously capitalist motive, they profit maximization. So what is there? That if the education system fills the skill gap, then that is fine. So these are few measures, and definitely controlling population can be a measure at the end. Rather, you would write population resource management or human resource management. That would be a better term. Okay. Then while concluding, you can look into this, why there is a need for employment, right? Why we need employment for economic growth. And while any country is growing economically, then it is one of the major reason why India can become a superpower. Because definitely the population is good, youth population is good, and if employability increases, then economic growth and India can become a world superpower, because India is a soft power, right? We don't believe in military might to become a superpower. We believe in economic might and people to people ties. right? So if we have good people to people ties already, we have good ties with, because we are peace loving country, we have good ties with all the countries. If we are become economic superpower, then we can get this superpower status, right? So this is what you need to conclude like this. Finally, the
Sir.
sixth question. Yeah,
Sir, actually, I have a doubt, sir.
yeah, Varan.
Sir, regarding unemployment issues.
Yeah,
So, sir, can't we say? I mean, I don't know what to say, but I will tell in the example,
yeah,
sir.
whatever. Yeah,
Sir, after sir, in engineering particularly, a civil engineer becomes a computer science software engineer, sir.
Yeah.
Electrical engineering becomes software engineer, but why can't a software engineer become electrical and or he can't go to civil? Sir, it can't be a reason for unemployment.
You are saying that electrical will go to software, civil will go to software, but software engineer
Yes.
cannot go to this field,
Can't
right?
go anywhere. Yes, sir. But it isn't a situation where others are exploiting the chances of computer science students, sir.
One thing I would say, Farhan, here, that not even electrical engineer or civil engineer, but non-engineer, they also get into this software industry, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So what is there is IT is booming, right? IT sector is booming, and it will be booming for few more years, right? That is for sure, right? Few more
Yes, sir.
decades. So this is one field where everyone can encroach, and it is not about book knowledge. That is what we are talking about, right? So
Yes, sir.
while teaching, while in the education system or the syllabus is like that, that anyone can become a software engineer, right? Because they don't have to go through this 4 years of study. They need to develop a basic skill set, right? So this is what we are talking about. Skill India program is one of the such program which is going through skill sets, right? They're giving 6 months computer diploma, right? And that is good enough for anyone to get a small role in an IT industry, right? So
Yes.
this would be skill appropriated great jobs. So what we can write here is that software engineers should be looking for high-end jobs, right? Not
Yes, sir.
these jobs that a 6-month diploma holder can be doing, or for your answer is electrical engineer or the civil engineer. So
Sir,
creation of these jobs should be the answer. Okay.
Can't we
Creation
say?
of, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. Can't we say this type of employment is underemployment in which the engineers got the?
Yeah, that is underemployment. Definitely underemployment, right? This is underemployment. Why? Because if electrical engineering is going into software engineering, the software company, so he won't be getting at the money or the reimbursement or whatever we are talking about at par with whatever he would have got here, because here the skill sets are specific. So what is the solution is creating higher jobs that on and giving them that kind of specialization, right? So this should be there. There should be this set of jobs and this set of specialization. If any software engineer is equivalent to any person who is a 6-month diploma holder, then what is the whole fun of going for engineering, or what is the whole fun of going for that much hard work for 4 years, right? Because this person after 6 months, what he is going to do, going for 1 year of training or in some company, and he will have equal skill sets of this person who got 4 years, right? So this is what we need to fill the gap. Okay, this is where we need to fill the gap. And now the session will end in a minute. Okay, so we will come back. Please rejoin. Okay, after this. If you anyone have any question, so for 1 minute you can ask, and we will meet on the other side of the session.
Sir, in the third question, you mentioned about we have not to only mention China, but in the recent time, China is becoming the hotspot issue for the debt trap diplomacy. So another example for debt trap diplomacy, like you say, Brexit. Can we move to another? Sir, I can't find any country name because China is expanding in the world. In the form of BRI, Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah.
So how can I manage to give some more examples of other countries?
And give USA example of USA. Okay, what USA did. Okay, if not now, then what USA did in Iran and Iraq, right, was debt trap diplomacy. Okay, that was one classic example. Another, if you look, you can look into Russia, what Russia did before 1991 in Afghanistan. Okay, that was debt trap.